Hello and welcome to Rock Your Block. I'm Tia Young, your host, and my special guests today are Mr. Richard Morgan, Senior Agent for Transamerica Agency Network, and our community panel from Falls Church, Virginia. Our topic today is actually part 2 of the series entitled Protection Against Catastrophic Events for Families in Middle America. So we're going to get started right now. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Tia.
You did come back. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't run you away. And the
great.
ladies, our esteemed ladies, if I could just have the ladies introduce themselves once again. This time we'll start with Mary.
My name is Mary White.
And my name is Gladys Overton. He knows me.
I'm Francis Stallings.
Pastor Denise Wilson.
Judy Child.
Thank you, ladies. At the end of our last series, we were talking about what to expect when Richard comes to a home for a needs analysis. Richard, for those people maybe who didn't get to watch all of the first series, could you tell us again what a needs analysis is?
Sure, thanks. Well, what we want to do when we visit with someone, whether it's the first time or a follow-up visit as a client, is identify what debts are in place, what concerns the individual has, what sort of things financially are keeping them up at night that they're worrying about. With this needs analysis, we're able to identify what the debt is, what the responsibility is another way of saying that, because part of it would be a debt to your children of how to raise them if you're not there. The other half of that is to be going through what you do have already. And that could be an insurance policy you already own, your savings, your 401k, things of that nature of value that would be liquid if necessary. And then we come to the bottom line. Unfortunately, fortunately as an insurance man, most people have a need. Very few people have made good decisions for a long period of time to put them in the black and are not in the red.
Right. That's right. Now, so Richard has told us what a needs analysis is. Now, you have work that you have to do as well. One of the worst things you can do is to have an agent come to your house and you're just sitting there looking at him or at her where you didn't prepare. And Richard had started telling us in the previous series about some of the things that he needs to see. And one of the things we talked about is if you are married, both the husband and wife should be present. It shouldn't be one person there. This is a very, very important transaction. You know, it's a life, it could be a life-breaking transaction if the right people are not there and if you don't get it set up properly. So Richard, could you tell us some other things that you shared with us about what people need to have available for you when you walk through that door?
Well, what we would like to have is a copy of all the current life insurance policies you have, so we can review what you have. And it's always advisable to have a recent, your most recent 1040, your tax return, to see if there might be some reallocation of funds that would be helpful, or how you're doing with your investments, where things are for you in that snapshot of time. And then through looking at everything, we can actually see whether maybe you have enough insurance, life insurance, you might have too much. And in that case, we help you identify which ones you might want to stop paying on if they're above and beyond what you really need. Or conversely, if you're not covered fully, we'd be able to make some recommendations based on your budget on how best to cover the need.
Right, very good. And one of the other things that we talked about, we got in agreement on the definition of what a catastrophic event is. And what I like to do right now is just do a little testimony time. And I'm going to start out just so there's no mistake about the types of things that can happen. I lost my dear brother about a little over a year ago. he was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2006. And 2 years later, he suffered an ischemic stroke. And at the time, he didn't have any coverage. But through people like Richard, it was not Richard at the time, I didn't know Richard at the time, but there was another agent that came to me right after he was diagnosed with cancer and told me that I needed to try and get a policy for him. Well, I didn't even have the knowledge to know that you could do such a thing once a person already was diagnosed with a catastrophic event. And just to make a long story short, it was a devastating time for our entire family. But when my brother passed, I do not know how we would have made it without that insurance policy. No, it wasn't $100,000, but it was enough to take care of his final expenses with a little bit left over for his personal bills. And I can tell you today, I don't know, that could have devastated my family because I'm not rich. And so that is one testimony that I want to share, and I'm so glad I got through it without crying.
Yeah.
But so I want to hear from our esteemed panel. If I'm going to start with Reverend Wilson, because she is a minister of the gospel, and I'm sure that you've had some situations within your church of things that have happened. Could you share with us a testimony?
Yes, well, it's actually a question that Richard would be able to answer based on our congregation. We've had a few of our members that have literally had to pass the hat. You referred to that in our earlier segment, to bury their loved ones. What products do you have that would help them to bury or to take care of final expenses for their loved ones?
Well, there's several that would be helpful. We normally will recommend that every individual have what's known as a permanent type of life insurance. There's universal life and whole life. But the key is that once they have that policy, they can't outlive it. And so it will truly be there for them for their final expenses.
They cannot outlive their policy?
They cannot outlive their policy.
That almost sounds too good to be true, Richard. We got to talk
Well-
about that a little bit more, a little later.
Well,
I'm going to make a little note on that one.
Yes, there are different types of life insurance, and that's where, every day I get up to go to work, I remind myself that I didn't know anything about life insurance before I got involved with the industry, and to be sure to be able to explain to people in layman's terms what the different policies are and how they work and how they would be assigned to them for various reasons.
Very good. Judy, do you have a testimony that you
This
could
is
give?
from our church, and husband and wife, the two boys, their sons, were adult, or let's say late teens. And she comes down one morning, Sunday morning, and there's a note on the table. He said, "I've had it, I'm through, I'm out of here." She has already been laid off work because there's not enough work in sales of furniture. And so she's at home. The boys are new on the job market, so they are just barely getting started.
Right.
But there was nothing there. Our pastor said, "Come on, this is a time that we need to help. We need to help her." She didn't have anything.
So this is a situation, her husband did not pass, he
No.
just left, cut and ran.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Richard, is there anything that you would have for that?
That's a tough one. I don't know if there's an insurance product that would cover that. They're really, ideally, what would already have been in place was a type of policy that had cash value in it. There's no quick fix in a situation like that. That comes from the years of planning that, we're talking about different types. There are insurance policies that do create cash value for emergencies, and that's certainly one possibility.
Okay. Francis, do you have a testimony for us?
Well, I was just thinking, sometimes couples just starting out or younger persons don't realize the value of having an insurance. And I wonder if grandparents or guardians could take out insurance without parents' consent.
Well, that's an excellent question. Matter of fact, yes. A grandparent can purchase a policy on a grandchild because there's an insurable interest, is what the term is. Someone other than, let me rephrase this. You can't buy insurance on just anybody.
Right.
The scenario is, worst case, you'd buy insurance on someone and find a way to get them pushed in front of a truck, So we know you're not going to do that with grandchild. So you can purchase for your grandchild. You would be the owner while they were a minor. You'd be the owner and the payor. And any cash value built up in the plan is actually your cash value, which, until they were old enough to transfer the ownership of the policy.
Thank you.
Before, we're gonna be breaking in just a little bit, but we have time for one more short testimony. Do you have a testimony of something that happened that you know of during your life where people needed the insurance, but they didn't have it? This is from Mary.
I don't have a testimony, but I have a question
Okay.
for Richard. For a person that has cancer, AIDS, or diabetes, what type of product do you have for that person without them going through a full-scale medical exam?
But Richard, before you answer that, because that's a good one, and I know that you'd have a longer answer. So we're going to come back to you right after the break. Gladys, I kind of gave your testimony because Gladys happens to be my mother, and so she went through that with our brother and her son Nelson. So, but what we're going to do now, we're going to take a short station break, but we'll be right back with Mr. Richard Morgan of Transamerica Agency Network and our esteemed community panel of Falls Church, Virginia. Don't touch that dial.
Hello? Patty, I've decided to follow your lead and file for Social Security benefits online. But Kath, aren't you back in Zanzibar? I just got on my laptop and went to socialsecurity.gov. It took less than 15 minutes. Wow, you are a miracle worker. Well, cheers, Patty. I'm off to film a baby rhino. Baby rhino?
Hello, you're watching Rock Your Block with Tia Young and Richard Morgan of Transamerica Agency Network and our fantastic community panel. Right before the break, Mary had posed a really excellent question. And Mary, I'd like to ask you if you would restate that question for Richard.
I would like to know what type of product would you have for a person that has cancer, AIDS, or a
Okay.
diabetic without them going through
The medical.
expensive
Yeah.
medical
The
exam?
medical.
Well, insurance companies love to insure young, healthy people that can pay the premium. They're less inclined for folks who are seriously ill. But with that said, even for some people with some sort of health problem, there is products and what we call a table rating, meaning they would have to pay more for the same type of coverage. Now, for someone with a recent cancer and or a AIDS situation, most insurance companies will not insure that person, especially AIDS. That's still considered a terminal illness. However, in the marketplace, and Transamerica has access to this product, we use it for people in that situation. It's referred to as a graded death benefit. There's no health questions. It's a simple form. It's somewhat limited. It's capped at a $25,000 level of coverage. But graded means in the first 3 years, if they die from an accident, they're covered fully. If they die from a health-related reason of any type, not just the particular type in question, they only get back their premium plus 5% interest. After that 3-year mark, they're fully insured. So there is some hope for folks, but that brings to the forefront how important it is, as Tia alluded to earlier, of taking care of business as soon as possible,
Early on.
and at least get something. And it's a common rephrase in the industry that the best type of life insurance is the life insurance you have when you die.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Richard. And Gladys, I can see you got a question over there. You've been sitting so patiently.
Richard,
Yeah.
what is the age limit for your products with respect to seniors?
Okay. Well, that's an excellent question, because that's another concern, because we know we don't live forever. And there's mortality tables that insurance companies use that take into account the cost based on your age. And there is a cap, though. On most products that we have, it's 80 years old, but we have some products that will cover someone up to the age of 85.
Okay, so it's 85 is
80,
is the
80
max.
for most, or for all the products,
some
and
things.
some up to age 85, a person can get
80
insurance.
through 85?
Yes.
Thank
Judy?
you.
You're welcome.
I have a question, Richard. Many people have lost money in some insurance products because investments were made in stock market type products. How safe is my money in your product?
Yes, what you're referring to is a permanent type of insurance. It's called variable, where the money is actually in funds as opposed to being held by the insurance company. My division of Transamerica Agency Network does not offer that type of product. The Transamerica company as a whole, through other arms of branches of their marketing, do have that product, and it's really designed for a particular type of person who's not risk adverse. So you have to be very careful when dealing with your clients to know, and we have questionnaires to help determine that. And I would never offer that to a family that was their only insurance. We want to make sure they have something that is guaranteed. So the products that our division offer are all guaranteed. There is one that's known as an indexed product, meaning the money isn't in the market, it mirrors what the market does, but it can never go south. It can never lose money, can never lose your principal. Any money you earn is kept at that amount. Even if the market goes down, you don't lose money. I find that to be a far better choice for most people, unless you have funny money, monopoly money to play with, and I don't run into too many of those people.
So that's good. So this index product is where, when the market is volatile, whatever you have, it just goes flat. It just stays there. You don't lose anything.
If the market goes down, you earn nothing, but you don't lose anything.
You don't lose anything.
But even if the market has gone down and then starts to come back up, when it starts to rise, you start making money, reflecting on that. But to be clear, there is a cap on your earnings, so you're trading off the upside for no losses.
That's not a bad trade.
It's a
trade-off.
good
I don't
trade
think- I don't
for the
think
right
that's a bad-
person.
Yes,
For the right
but what you're
person.
saying is not for everyone.
It's still not
It's
for
not for
everyone.
everyone, right. Reverend Wilson,
Yes.
do you have a question?
I do. Long-term care is very expensive. Do you have any products that help defray the cost of long-term care?
Yes, we do. Thanks for asking. That is
Good, you got all, yes, I like
so
that.
far. Yeah, and that's a major concern. One of the things we mention is, in that regard, I got good news and bad news for you. With recent medical advances, you're very likely to live into your 90s. And with recent medical advances, you're very likely to live into your 90s, which means a lot of people are worried about outliving their resources. And one of the problems is long-term care. It's a serious concern in America as the baby boomers are coming into that age range, and there's millions of them. So there's really two ways to go with that. There's a pure long-term care product that if you purchase that and use it because you do become disabled or qualify under the guidelines of the policy, you would be reimbursed on a daily basis or a percentage of care. Every policy is a little bit different. You'd want to really understand it. Make sure, my recommendation is make sure it has an inflation rider in it, because it's very easy to ignore that to try and keep the price down. But the dollar today is just not going to be worth $1 in the future in that buying power. Another product we have that I would also show someone is a life insurance product that also has a long-term care rider. That costs a little more to have it added to it, but here's the upside of it. With a long-term care product, if you pay into it and never go into using it, your money has gone into a product that you'll never get anything out of. We do know we're going to die. And with a life insurance policy with the rider, even if you don't use the long-term care provision, your family would still benefit from the death benefit.
Okay.
Wow. Francis?
Richard, what are living benefits and how expensive are they?
Well, you're alluding actually exactly to what I was talking about. Transamerica has the long-term care rider, and it is available in the state of Virginia right now, where you don't have to die to get access to the funds that you've been paying for. There's a new product that's available in almost all the states except Virginia, Maryland, and a couple others.
Richard.
But
To relocate?
Virginia and Maryland are one of the tougher states to get things approved. It will be approved, and that particular product is, again, a life insurance product, but it has the features of having disability, critical care, things of that nature, which would be called a living benefit.
So Richard, is that similar to say like I have cancer, and I know that in 2 years I'm probably not going to be here. I don't really have cancer, folks, but it's just an example. And so if I had a policy like that, if I needed to cash that policy in while I'm still alive to help with my medication or whatever, I'm able to do that with that type of policy?
Well, you actually brought up a good point that I overlooked.
I did?
Yes, you did.
See, I'm smart.
That was great. Thank you. All our policies have something called an accelerated death benefit. So if you're diagnosed as being terminally ill, and that's by your physician, and the definition under our product is expected to live for less than 1 year, you can access most of your death benefit at that point.
That is really cool. That would help a lot of families out. And
And
so
thanks
that's
for
one of
bringing
them.
that.
Okay, so that's one of them. And then you said the other is if you can't perform some of the daily living. What are those daily living? I know one is probably incontinence. And
Being able to bathe yourself, dress yourself, transport from bed to a chair, eating.
eating,
um,
toileting.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that will be different in different policies. To qualify for certain rules with taxes and whatnot, there has to be at least 5 of those
Okay.
definitions in the policy.
In the policy. Richard, that's really interesting what you've been sharing with us. I've saved my questions for last. I have a couple of questions. I don't know that we'll get to both of them because we just got a couple of minutes left. But
Okay.
when I was coming up, all you heard about was term insurance. Lately, I've been hearing about upgraded or a new type of term insurance. Can you, say in maybe the next minute, kind of differentiate between the old term and what the new term insurance offers?
Well, there's term insurance is a life insurance that has a period certain where it'll end. And if you screw up and outlive your policy, you don't get any money. There's no cash value. The new product that you're referring to, Tia, has a rider, and that means you have your base policy and the rider goes along with it, the policy, the base policy. And the rider is what's known as return of premium. Premium is what you pay every month, or however you've set up your policy to make your payments. At the end of the term, and in this example it's a 20 or 30-year period, you have a choice. You either get back every single dollar you put in,
Wow.
or there's what's known as a reduced paid up. So the example that I was out on a call last night, a $250,000 policy, the woman will get back in 20 years $16,000 in 20 years, or she'll have a paid up policy. Instead of $250,000, she'll own it and it'll be worth $82,000 and she'll never have to make another payment. You have to pay a little extra, well, usually 2 to 3 times more than a regular term, but that's one choice.
Well, thank you so much. Our time is up, and I want to thank Richard Morgan for his excellent presentation during this 2-part series, and also our community panel. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Yes, thanks for coming.
There are a lot of questions, folks, that I know you would have. I hope that we've answered some of them, but if you need to get in contact with me, all you have to do is email me at skillstorock@gmail.com. If you have any questions for Richard, his information will be scrolling on your television screen. Thank you so much for watching Rock Your Block. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.